On this episode of Money Matters with Jim Doyle, is money the last taboo? Experts Allison Jones, Ida Harvey, and Darren Hutt share some advice on talking about money with your spouse. Plan more, worry less. This is Money Matters with Jim Doyle.
In today's show, we ask, is money the last taboo? Many couples have different financial DNA. Without recognizing these differences and accounting for them, couples may face difficulty when it comes to talking about money. For couples, uncovering the value of having regular conversations around money is essential. Seeking openness and clarity around each partner's financial vision and goals can help reduce conflict in your relationship. Later in the show, we'll be talking about financial infidelity and offering some tips for couples to start having healthy money conversations. But first, I sent Paige to ask, are financial secrets really secrets?
Do you think most people keep financial secrets from their partner?
I can't say if I know that most people do, but I do know that there are people that do. So I think there are instances that people do keep financial secrets from their partner.
Yes, I think they do. I think people have debts that they've incurred from student debt or maybe financial debt as far as being married and divorced. There's also that aspect of it as well. And I think there's a lot of problems that occur when you have a lot of debt or no debt at all. And maybe one person has money and the other one person doesn't.
I'm sure some do, but mine definitely doesn't.
For sure I do. I think there's a lot of people who have kept secrets from their partner and only for it to destroy the relationship.
Now, between couples, are financial secrets really that innocent? Allison? Ida?
Well, I think that financial secrets can be very harmful for a relationship. And although it's okay to have privacy, when we start keeping one secret, it becomes very easy to start keeping other secrets.
And as Allison was saying, secrets in a relationship, it's never healthy. And that could make the other person feel uncomfortable, not trusted, so it could be really bad for the relationship. It doesn't mean that they have to share their money, but they don't have to keep secret about the money that they have.
I think everybody needs to still have some autonomy, and we need to have choice. But I think that if we're going to withhold and not share these kind of conversations, then we're not creating a very good foundation for success in other areas in our relationships.
One person shouldn't be the one that keep all the stress about the money either. It's not always about control, but one could feel like I have to be the one supporting the family, so I'm keeping everything, so they could have debts and they have the stress and the other person doesn't know about it.
Well, listen, we've been talking about some wonderful concepts here. We'll be right back.
What I've seen in working with families is that the person who doesn't have the information can feel like they don't have control of their choices, of their finances, of their future.
Welcome back. We've been talking about keeping financial secrets from our partners. Coming up, we'll be talking about financial infidelity and why couples feel the need to keep secrets. Allison, why is that?
Well, usually people are keeping secrets because they are feeling embarrassed, ashamed, guilty, and also sometimes they're keeping secrets because they don't want to change their behavior.
Yeah, and as Allison was saying, there's a lot of emotion related with finances. As she said, like there's shame, there's fear, there's not having enough confidence to talk about it. That makes it that, oh, I'm going to keep it a secret. Or there could also be like controlling. You want to control the other person, so I'm going to control the finance. That way I could control the other person.
What about being judged for the decisions that you've made?
And I think that's a big piece too. People fear judgment, right? They fear somebody judging them, looking down upon them. And a lot of people have made bad decisions. That's part of being human. The thing is, we don't learn from our bad decisions, our mistakes, if we can't take a look at them.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we're in a culture where like sometimes we feel our worth is how much we have, and sharing like, oh my God, I have a big debt. No, I have a big debt. That could be like, I'm feeling judged. People are going to judge me. They're going to say I'm irresponsible, you know?
Trust is such a powerful concept. I met up with Darren, a family mediator, and asked him about financial infidelity. So Darren, when we talk about financial infidelity, is that a loaded term?
Yeah, I think that is a loaded term. What does that mean? This is idea that you're keeping secrets for your own benefit, but maybe not for the benefit of the other person. That's a loaded question. I wonder if some people see it that way, though. They may think that they're keeping secrets from their significant other for the family's good or for their good. And I get the division of labor part of it. Some people handle finances, some people don't. But I think there can be some real consequences for a family when both people are not making decisions together.
Well, Darren, I'm tempted to ask, what would be some examples of financial infidelity?
In some families, one person will keep information away from the other, like the debt load and what the full debts are, what some of the investments are, maybe what's left on the mortgage, what's going on the credit card month to month. What I've seen in working with families is that the person who doesn't have the information can feel like they don't have control of their choices, of their finances, of their future. They can feel like they can't really trust the other person because things come up and you discover things maybe and you go, what's happening here? Why is this going on? Then trust is diminished.
And at the end of the day, if this problem is not cured, where does this ultimately go?
Well, people need to eventually get help for that. And hopefully they meet with somebody who's a financial expert, someone such as yourself, to help get that worked out. But obviously, I see families that go right to the end and get into very difficult situations because of that and other issues of mistrust.
I'm going to pick up where Darren left off. Alice and Ida, what happens if this problem isn't resolved?
Well, when there's secrets or infidelity in a relationship, it's like cracks in the relationship and it undermines the foundation. And it could ultimately undermine it to the point where it really does sink or fall apart entirely.
We suggest that they start talking about it from the beginning of the relationship, but if it doesn't happen, it's never too late. And as Darren was saying, it's good to seek for professional help. If you're not comfortable talking about it, ask for help.
This is the thing with secrets and lies, basically, is they do undermine the relationship tremendously.
Yeah, exactly. And we're not saying that it's going to automatically bring you to a divorce or separation, but it just damages the relationship. Any kind of secret damages the relationship.
I'm hearing secrets are toxic for relationships. Let's go back to Paige as she asks about the importance of getting your partner engaged in financial conversation.
If people are reluctant to have financial conversations, do you think that should be taken as a check engine moment in the relationship?
I definitely do. I think that that's one of the first things. It's like financial health is relationship health. And definitely, if you're not on the same page financially, that's the foundation of a lot of issues that can happen in the relationship in the forward moments.
I think so, because they obviously are hiding something, and there's people that are out there that could be gold diggers, and maybe they're just financially looking for a gain, and then they're going to rope you into something and for their benefit, and then move on and then do it again to someone else maybe. And I've had that, not my experience, but I've heard that from other friends that's happened to them.
Definitely. There's not much to say about that. I think that if it's a partner in a relationship, then you need to be on the same page with finances and you need to be able to disclose everything to them.
I really love that check engine description. How does that make you feel when you hear that?
Well, I think every relationship needs its moments to check in and check engine. Like it really does. It's an opportunity to reevaluate. Maybe it isn't the relationship for you if you really cannot speak to them and have, honest conversations with them.
Yeah. Ida, do you think people want to gloss over this?
Well, it's hard because people sometimes they don't want to look at it, and we suggest that We have to talk about it from the beginning of the relationship, and that could create a healthy relationship. I think Lindsay was saying that to have a healthy relationship, you have to be on the same page about it. And it's important because if not, as Allison was saying, that could create a gap, and maybe it's not the right relationship for you if you're not able to really talk about it.
That powerful dynamic, communication, okay? We'll be right back.
We have a financial advisor that we have a check-in with every 6 months, and that really helps us make sure we're in control and putting some money aside for the future.
Welcome back. Financial conversations are so important to healthy relationships, not only for talking about where you are financially, but talking about your long-term goals and living the life you want. In my experience, many couples don't know where to start these conversations. Why do you think talking about money is taboo?
Well, again, it's some of those strong emotions that are attached to money. And it's also that a lot of people don't have a template. They didn't grow up in families where this was discussed, or it was seen as something that shouldn't be discussed. It's kind of this personal, private thing you shouldn't talk, you shouldn't share with other people around.
Pain. I hear pain.
Yeah, exactly. As Allison was saying, there's a lot of feelings related with money, like fear, shame, as she was explaining. So it could make it harder. And your values when you were growing up. Mm-hmm. I remember we were not allowed to really talk about money. Yes. Money wasn't something you would discuss at home.
Now, I got to throw it out here. How do we break this cycle?
I think we break this cycle by starting actually within our families to have these discussions, to be teaching our children how to have discussions, to being able to talk to each other about money and how are you making that happen.
And seeking help when you need.
Yes.
Ask a professional if it's too hard for you to talk about it, you know?
I'm hearing some very important points here. Let's go back to Paige on how couples can help themselves have healthy conversations about money.
So what might you suggest could help couples have open and ongoing conversations about money?
Maybe they could go to counseling, as far as maybe to find out which path they're heading down, if whether or not they're on the same path as far as what their goals are in the future, and whether or not they feel that money's important, or if it's travel, or if it's just working hard and then playing as you go along, or saving for a rainy day in the future.
We have a financial advisor that we have a check-in with every 6 months, so that helps us keep on track. And we regularly check in with our budget, our income and expenses, and that really helps us make sure we're in control and putting some money aside for the future.
And how about when it comes to investments? When you're a part of a couple, how would you recommend having an open conversation about investing?
In previous relationships I've had, we have things that we invest in together and then things that we invest in apart. And I think that that's really a positive thing for independence, as well as the health of the relationship, to have things that you're actually building together, but then also have an understanding of an independent element of finance as well.
What types of outcomes can couples experience if they don't have these healthy money conversations? Allison, Ida?
Well, I think that they can become very separate, right? Their goals start to diverge, their values diverge. And so it creates a separation even when the relationship is together at times. And
it could hurt the relationship.
And it does hurt the relationship. Yeah. That's absolutely right. If you have the conversations, you have an evolution. If you don't, you probably have a divergence.
And in like anything else, it's compromising. Mm-hmm. You can't change each other, but you could compromise.
That's right.
With what you're comfortable.
Compromise sounds like a painful subject.
Well, it can be a difficult one, but it exists in every successful relationship. Mm-hmm. Nobody gets 100% what they want. It just doesn't work that way.
If you don't compromise, you can't be in a relationship.
Yeah. So one of the things about the financial conversations, it's actually a very good exercise in learning how to compromise.
Exactly. Right. And it could make your relationship stronger.
Well, listen, I'm hearing some significant challenges here. Let's go back to Darren for his thoughts on the perils of not being involved in running your own financial show. So if I trust my spouse to handle the finances, why do I need to get involved?
That's a great question. I don't think it's an issue of trust as much as an issue of communication. So here's the problem with one person having all the financial control and the other person not having a clue. First of all, you get further on in your life, like to retirement, and you might find that your expectations are just way different than what you thought. And so tracking that all along with your significant other I think is really important. Second thing is, if the relationship splits apart and you end up separating, the person that doesn't have any financial awareness is at a real disadvantage to the other person because they're trying to catch up now to find out all this stuff and figure out their wealth and their future. When we talk about the unfortunate situation where the person who has all the financial awareness and control suddenly dies or suddenly has a health issue and they can't be involved anymore. The person who's suffering all this grief now has this giant load of figuring out the finances at the same time, and that's just really unfortunate. And I think there's an opportunity for people to feel empowered in their finances, to understand them better, because they can share when they share it together. So a person that maybe doesn't know a lot about finances or maybe doesn't care, they can feel empowered when they get that understanding, that knowledge. I think it's something they share.
Listen, there were a ton of powerful words in this conversation. What do you think about Darren's comments?
Life is unpredictable. We don't know what's going to happen. Something could happen to your partner, and you would be left so vulnerable if you didn't have the knowledge.
Exactly.
So even if it isn't your strength, you're actually protecting each other and all the things that you've built together by making sure that you're sharing information.
And as Darren was saying, sometimes life happens and you're divorcing, and suddenly the person that didn't have any knowledge about finance, not only they're going through a divorce, now they're going through the time that they have to learn about finance. That's a big burden on someone.
I'm hearing here, share the load, share the experience.
Yes, and it's okay to draw on the strengths that you have in a relationship. If you're really good with finances and numbers and budgets, that's awesome. Bring that strength to the relationship. But then share what you're doing.
And make it fun, you know? It doesn't have to be boring and numbers. Like one person could do all the finances, but sit together and show the finance, show what you have, show how much you have on the mortgage. Make it fun so you both feel empowered.
Now, the challenge that I've often got is I'll sit down with a couple and one of them will say, you know what, I just hate this money stuff, okay? What do we do for them?
Well, if we can help them see how this can be a vehicle to achieve the goals that they want.
Oh no, Alice, just you take care of it all for me, please.
Right. But their knowledge is part of the fuel to the vehicle, right? So it's like it's involving them and giving them that good feeling that comes with, we're 2 steps closer.
I think we just saved a few relationships here. We'll be right back.
If you're having trouble having the conversation, meet with a financial expert. Meet with a person that helps families have those kinds of conversations. That would be a great step. Because things never get better over time when you don't talk about them.
It's time to get our panel's final thoughts on money doesn't have to be a relationship wrecker. Ida, your final thoughts if I can.
So I think what is important to remember, try to talk about it as early as possible in the relationship. Let's not keep secrets in relationship. It's never healthy to do that. If for you talking about finance brings a lot of feelings like shame, as we said, fear, or just not understanding, seek for help. There's a lot of people out there that could help you, financial advisor, financial counselor. They could help you make it easier. Maybe not fun, but you could also make it as a fun activity. And that could empower both of you.
What I'm hearing here is the importance of getting engaged. Let's go back to Darren for his final thoughts. Darren, any final thoughts?
Yeah, here's some things that I would suggest for people to think about. Financial conversations, start early. It's important to start that early in a relationship. If you're having trouble having the conversation, meet with a financial expert. Meet with a person that helps families have those kinds of conversations. That would be a great step. because things never get better over time when you don't talk about them. They only seem to get harder. And for me, what I see in my clients and the ones that really struggle is that marriages struggle the most when there's unmet expectations and surprises, and people aren't resilient in handling that.
So how can we help people get beyond having these financial secrets?
I think it's helping them think about how to have the conversation. You and I have talked a little bit about how can a couple almost have fun in that conversation. There's ideas and ways to do that. It doesn't have to be a heavy thing. It doesn't have to be a 5-hour shareholders meeting. It could just have fun, do it over dinner, whatever it is, but be intentional about it. That's the key to it. So start early, get some help if you need it, and drink wine when you talk about money.
Last word on the subject, Allison, is yours.
I like the idea that both Darren and I have talked about, setting some time aside, making things fun if you can, having some conversations, and aligning it with your values. And when you really start to talk about these things, it's exciting. To achieve your goals is exciting. Like, this is universal, is we know that when we move closer towards a goal, we feel better. So this is an avenue to deepen your relationship, to practice your communication, to hold space for another person, to educate yourself. I would say stay curious.
Wish we had more time. I want to thank Darren, Allison, and Ida for their thoughts on money matters, because financial aspects touch so many elements of our lives. It pays to get great advice. Plan more and worry less.